Report. Hello, my name is Rory. It's the Witchy Weather Report. I don't know why I'm singing to you, but this is what you're getting today. How are we all feeling? Would we enjoy a musical Witchy Weather Report sometime? Because we all know I could do that. All right, let me throw my usual pinned comment in there so you have all those linky poos. And let me get this banner going. How are we doing? We had a full moon. How did the full moon treat you? Did you do anything special? If you're in my manifesting challenge with me, how is your manifesting going? I don't see anyone yet, but for anyone watching the replay, hey, howdy. How are you? Even if you're watching the replay, I still would love for you to participate and leave comments and all of that. Because I like you. I want to know what's going on in your world. Talk to me, friends. So we had a full moon on Thursday. The moon is now waning, which means it's time to clean up a bit, to declutter our lives, to allow ourselves to, what a friggin' concept, rest and recoup. This is a time for refilling our cup and tying up loose ends rather than starting big initiatives and projects. I'm going to be reading for you today with the Tarot of the Cloisters, a round deck that I absolutely love. Apparently now out of print and harder to get, and I'm just so grateful that I have it. I think I got it on a whim at a Borders Books, back when Borders Books was a thing. Yeah. Let me share this broadcast in one or two places, because I know last week it was slow for notifications. Notifications were not happening. I don't know why. Last week, however, Mercury was in Gatorade, and it is not in Gatorade anymore. Mercury is now free. Hey, Judith, how you doing? There you are. I was just reflecting that I wasn't sure if the notifications were slow again this morning, because I know they were pretty slow last week. They went out like 10 minutes after I started the broadcast. Because of course, right? But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'm reading today with the Tarot of the Cloisters. The moon is waning. Mercury is now direct. I don't know about you guys, but after, when Mercury stationed and turned around, that was when I felt all my Mercury retrograde stuff. That was when stuff started really not working for me and driving me a little crazy. But I don't know. Maybe just because I was also trying to get a couple big things done those 2 days, and I was a little hectic. So I can acknowledge, right? Sometimes it's Mercury, sometimes it's me. Let's just be real. We've all been there. Is Mercury in retrograde? No, it's me. Maybe I'm in retrograde. Mercury is direct now, and I want to let you know, the World keeps coming up. The World is our current stalker card, and it's not just mine. It's come up for a couple of friends in personal readings that they've done. It's come up for us a bunch, both reversed and upright. In the Discord, if you're part of the Patreon, you've been seeing it. The Pixie Tarot bot that we have, that Grayson made us, is throwing the world at us a lot. And I know it came in a little bit last week for us. So the world, big world energy right now. We are going through the end of a chapter, not the beginning of a new chapter, the end of our current chapter. That's what the world is about. The world encourages us to look backwards rather than forwards, to create value out of what we've been to process whatever we need to process. That can look like learning, that can look like grieving, that can look like just journaling and sorting out our feelings. The world is a card of processing. Think of it like the epilogue at the end of a book, where everything gets wrapped up really nicely, and for some reason Hermione married Ron Weasley. I don't know why. I don't know why she would do that, but she did. That's the world. The world is the epilogue. It's not time for us, although I think many of us are chomping at the bit, and I think that might be part of what that's about. Many of us are chomping at the bit to either get back to normal or create a new normal, one or the other, because I think many of us recognize the need for a new normal. And the world is starting to open up, at least here in the States. Restrictions are really being lifted. If you're vaccinated now, you don't have to wear a mask in public, although myself and a lot of other people I know are continuing to wear masks indoors in public just to be, cautious and continue to keep up that it's, to continue to normalize it. All kinds of things are happening. I'm gigging a lot. All the things we couldn't do last summer, we can do now. Travel is starting to open up. And I think the world is here to remind us that it's not the new chapter yet. It's still the end of this chapter. There's still reason to be cautious. Here in New York State, only 65 or 66% of people are fully vaccinated. I think 70% of people have gotten their first shot. So we're working with still about 30% of the population unvaccinated for COVID. And I don't mean this to turn into like a listen up, you got to get yourself vaxxed, lecture, because there's a time and place for that lecture. But, we're not out of the woods 100% yet. People, I think, are eager to restart their lives. But we have to remember that this pandemic threw us for a loop, literally closed the whole world for the better part of a year. And in some places in the world is still really wreaking havoc and really creating tragedy day by day. And we need to be careful. We need to make sure that we don't go out and celebrate and party for the next bunch of weeks and then find ourselves, once again under some type of lockdown because a strain has emerged that is more resistant to our partially vaccinated community, that kind of thing. So, anyway, that's my personal interpretation, a very scientific one, I guess, of the world. And I also encourage you to get thoughtful about your own life and what areas of your life are you rushing to start new things where maybe actually you'd still need to do some processing of the old stuff. Maybe there are still lessons for you to learn. Maybe if you take the time and do that processing, even though you feel like you want to rush ahead, maybe that will allow you to move into the next phase actually better. Sometimes that's a thing. Sometimes when we're rushing, we don't want to cross all of our T's and dot all of our I's. We don't want to take all of our steps, right? We want to just move ahead to the next step. But sometimes if we do take the time to do that double check, if we take the time to make sure we have completed what we need to complete, that makes the next step go so much easier. Kind of like, reading the instruction manual when you get a new appliance, instead of just being like, whatever, I know how to use this and winging it. There's a time and place for both. I think we all know how to use a toaster. But there are times when reading the instructions saves you a lot of headache, right? So that's what's going on with the world. I'm going to pull us a card as well. Because if you missed it, if you just tuned in, the world is kind of a stalker card for me and everybody I know this past week. It's really interesting. It just keeps coming up, both upright and reversed, indicating to me that some of us are really making use of this time and some of us aren't. Some of us are like, yeah, let's review, let's make sure we're not moving too quickly. And I think some of us are like, no, gosh, let me move forward. I've been waiting all year. And that would be a reversed expression of the world, refusing to take that time because we think we know better. And I look at it as an opportunity. I look at it as an opportunity to, I like the words, create some value for ourselves, to look back and see what else we can get out of what we've experienced. As we're going through our experiences, we're kind of often responding rather than reacting, or we're doing our best in the moment, and we don't get to pull all that we can out of it. We don't get to often highlight our own strengths, celebrate what we were able to get through, what we were able to do. Hey, darling, I see some comments. Lisa says, hey, lady, I'm very sad today and would like a card if you're doing that today. I am doing that today. I just always have a little ramble at the beginning. I got you. Don't worry. All right. It's a quiet, witchy weather report today. Usually we got a bunch of people tuned in, but that's fine. I don't mind a quiet group. So I'm going to first pull a card for all of us. This will be our card for the week. After that, I got you, Lisa, and Judith. By the way, if you're tuned in, wherever you are tuned in, first of all, please ring that notification bell. Click the bell so you get notified when I go live, because I do this every Saturday and I would love to keep doing this with you. We have a great community here that comes back week after week on Saturday mornings. That's 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's 8 a.m. California time. And I want to say 4 o'clock British summer time, and other times in other places. So ring that notification bell, make sure you know when I'm going live. And our secret code for Rory, please pull me a card, is to drop a cat emoji in the chat, or to simply say meow. And the reason we do that is because every now and then we get spammers. If we say, hey, pull me a card, please. Sometimes a spammer sees that and we start getting like creepy people trying to sell people readings on my page, which blows my mind how rude that is. So if you would like a card pull, I got you. Drop a cat in the chat. Judith and Lisa, I got you, so don't worry. Here is our card collectively. It is the King of Vessels. Big feels. This deck is the Tarot of the Cloisters deck. It's a beautiful stained glass theme round deck. I love that it's round. And we see this king sitting on a beach. Kind of looks like the beach in Animal Crossing, doesn't it? At least on my island. Sitting on a beach, hanging out with a cup. He's looking very, very introspective. He's looking very thoughtful. The King of Vessels is a master of his emotions, and I feel like he's come up for us recently. The King of Vessels leads with his heart. He does not let his heart lead him, and he does not try to control his heart. He leads with his heart in partnership, right? In heartnership, if you will. I'm sorry I said it already. Please forgive me. This is someone who understands the value of his feelings, who understands that his feelings are important messengers, just as a king has advisors that come and tell him about, what's going on in his land, what's the political climate, what's happening, what's going on internationally, what does he need to know about today? He recognizes that his feelings are also important advisors, and we are being called to do the same this week. We are being called to lead with our hearts, not to allow our hearts to lead us, because you don't, if you're the king, right? And your advisor comes to you and your advisor is all kerfuffled, right? And your advisor's like, you got to do something right now, king. All this, you don't even know what's going on out there. It's a big deal. Here's what you got to do. You take the time to calm your advisor down at that point and get a clear understanding of what's really happening, right? And so that's something we need to do with our emotions. Sometimes our emotions are so big and we need to take the time to soothe ourselves so that we can get a clear understanding of what those emotions are actually trying to tell us. Then we can act because we have the complete picture. We're not acting rashly, we're acting thoughtfully and treating that emotion as a valued messenger, right? We're not like, calm down, you jerk. We're like, all right, let's talk this out, So that's what leading with your heart looks like. It looks like honoring your emotions as valuable and important messengers. That's what we are being called to do this week, and leading with our hearts rather than pushing our hearts to the side when we lead. Some people feel that there are certain areas of their life where their feelings are not supposed to enter into. People feel this about their careers. People feel this about money. And it's funny because we're so friggin' emotional about both things. At least I certainly am as a Virgo. And the truth is that your emotions are valuable in all of these facets of your life right now. So rather than putting them aside and trying to make these purely rational decisions, which might cause you to lose something, also, I just want to say, usually when we're trying to be purely rational, what's actually happening is our subconscious is driving the bus in terms of our emotions. Our subconscious is like, remember this story about how you felt ashamed when you were 7 years old? That's something you should remember when making this decision. And what's actually happening is our subconscious emotions are influencing our decisions rather than our conscious ones. If we at least consciously include our emotions in our decision making, acknowledge that they're there and that they have something to say to us, then we have the opportunity to make a choice around it. Whereas if we push it down and it becomes subconscious, we don't have the opportunity. It drives us without us even knowing it. So we're being urged to consciously involve our emotions in our decision making this week. By the way, if you just tuned in, hello, thanks for joining. I saw the little number go up on the who's watching number. So say hello. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know where you're tuned in from. It's great to see you this morning. So anyway, TLDR, lead with your heart this week. Allow your emotions to be honored messengers rather than nuisances. You know, if your emotions are you feel like they're getting the better of you, then take the time. Take the time to get better together. Take the time to sit with them. That may be what is needed. You know, you don't need to be in a rush. What you need to do is sit and understand what your emotions are trying to share with you, and then make a wise decision when you have all the facts. All right, I'm shuffling. This might be a short witchy weather report because we just got a couple people tuned in, and that's okay with me. I have not been really promoting the witchy weather report these last couple weeks because I've been busy with other things, and I've kind of been like, well, that's okay, because I'm going to continue to show up for it. I'm someone who loves habits, and I love when things get deliciously boring. I love that I just show up for the witchy weather report every day at 11. Sometimes it's a very busy day and I can't get everyone in. Sometimes it's a very slow day, and often it's in between, and we always have good conversations. And that's great to me. I love relying on that as a touchstone in my week. Okay, Lisa, I am pulling a card for you, my dear. Actually, before I do, let me ask you, is there any... I invite everyone who wants a card, if there's a particular topic, particular question that they want to get the card pulled on, please let me know. I'm happy to do that for you. Otherwise, I'm really happy to just pull a message for you from the universe, like a general card. So let me know, Lisa. While you think about that or type, I am going to take a sip of water. Hydration checkpoint. Make sure you're staying hydrated, kiddos. Really low viewers today. Can everyone see and hear me today? I assume you can if you're saying hello. But just give me a quick check. You're at a crossroads. Do you want to share about your crossroads? Or do you want me to just kind of pull an advice card for you? Either's okay. I know this is a public forum. I know people don't feel like dropping their whole heart on the public forum. But I give people the opportunity as well. No, thank you. That's fair. Okay, I'm going to pull a card for you about your crossroads, Lisa. This is advice. This is how you can approach your crossroads. Because I think usually that's what we need when we come to the tarot. We need a little guidance for how to do this as our highest, best self. Hey, Lana, how are you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you. Okay, 8 of Pentacles reversed. I'm going to show you this card reversed. I'll show it to you upright so you can actually see it as well. As you can see, this guy is surrounded by pentacles. He's blowing bubbles, which is kind of interesting. The 8 of Pentacles is a point where you have been building something. You haven't yet received the fruits of your labor. You've been doing the steady work. You have been, I think he might be blowing glass. That might actually be what he's doing. He's actually working. I think he's blowing glass pentacles. He's not just chilling in a field blowing bubbles. You've been just steadily doing your work in faith that that will be enough to move you to the next level. And the 8 of Pentacles reversed indicates that that is no longer the correct stance to take. Often it's a great stance to take, right? When we get 8 of Pentacles upright, it's like, keep doing what you're doing. We don't always get an immediate payoff. Some things you just have to invest your time in regularly. The 8 of Pentacles reversed indicates that circumstances have changed, and that indicates that you need to change with them. You may need to be adaptable. It's a time to consider whether what you've been investing your time in is still the thing you really want. That's a piece of it, right? It's not just, is this going to pan out? Is this still what I really want to build my life around? Has something else come up that maybe also deserves my attention, and now I have to decide what gets my time and energy because there's only one of me? And is this turning out the way I thought it would? Or is there something circumstantial, that's going to make this plan that I had not work in the way that I believed it would work? So you're invited now to take a pause from whatever you're doing rather than continue to keep your head down and push, which I know you can be very good at. You're the kind of person who is very good at getting things done by putting in the right amount of effort every day, not making yourself crazy. Now might be a time to take a step back from that regular kind of day-to-day hustle and ask yourself, like, those usual soul-searching questions. Is this really what I want? If it's not, what do I want? Does something feel wrong? And if something feels wrong, it's time to identify that. It's time to really dig deep there, because it's uncomfortable to get real when something isn't working for us about a plan. Sometimes it's so uncomfortable that we avoid it and we lose the opportunity to fix something that could be really easily solved. Other times, we are so resistant to facing that we have this niggling feeling that something's not going to work that we don't face it, and we waste years of our life in a path that isn't right for us. So you have an opportunity now, Lisa, to take a pause, and you're encouraged to take a pause. It's hard because you are used to putting effort in every day and continuing to build, and it feels like you're moving backwards when you're standing still. But in fact, you're just standing still. It's okay to stand still. It's a time for you to take a look at what you've created. Also, I encourage you to honor your own resourcefulness at this time, to take a look at how much you've accomplished, even if your plans have changed. Even if you're like, you know what, this is no longer relevant, but look what I did, because that skill set and that ability is going to help you. It's going to help you in whatever you do decide to do next. Knowing that you're good for what you've created already is going to help you know that you're good for whatever you decide to do ultimately. It's a really good time to shore up your own sense of self-worth around what you are capable of. And take your time with it. You know already that you're really good at making plans and carrying them out. So it's okay now to take a few days kind of out of time, right? To just be like, declare this is not a time for working. This is a time for figuring out, and do your figuring, and then make the new plan. And then you can get back to your day to day. I hope that's helpful. It's interesting when pentacles come up around like a feelings question. And I think that often it means that the solution that's going to hurt the least is practical. It's easy for us to take practical actions right now when maybe facing the full weight of it in a simply emotional or spiritual way we might feel too raw for that. So, small practical steps of dealing with our feelings can be really healing sometimes. All right, I'm pulling a card for Judith. And then I'm going to pull a card for Lana. Lana says, I'm good. How are you? I'm good. Thank you for asking. I just got a huge mailing out yesterday to everyone who ordered a CD from my crowdfunding campaign, Shadow Work. It's in the mail. If you ordered a CD or a t-shirt, it is coming to you. Vinyl, we're still waiting on. But it felt really good to get that mailing done because there were a lot of little components that had to be completed in order for me to get the things in the mail to everybody. And it really has taken me like the better part of this month. And so I'm very, very glad I feel free. All right, Judith, I am pulling a card for you. If you're tuned in, say hi. Let us know where you're tuned in from. Let us know how you're doing today. If you just joined us, our card of the week collectively is the King of Vessels, which indicates we should lead with our hearts this week. We should allow our emotions to be wise messengers, sit with them and make sure we're understanding what they're trying to tell us. We should listen carefully to our emotions, and then we should make a choice. That's how we should lead in our lives this week. Judith says, yay, I hate doing mailings. Oh, me too. It's so, it's definitely something that my husband and I were saying, is that standing in line at the post office is no one's zone of genius. There's this, I forget the name of the guy. There's this kind of motivational speaker coach type person who talks about getting into your zone of genius and freeing yourself up to be in your zone of genius. And one of the things he says when he talks about this is, maybe standing in line in the post office is not my zone of genius, so I should hire someone to do that for me. But I doubt it's the person he's hiring's zone of genius either, right? You know what I mean? If you're standing in line at the post office for someone because you're a personal assistant or whatever, it's not because that's what you're amazing at. It's because that's the way you're making money. So my husband and I were standing there at the post office waiting as our envelopes got, processed and going, this is nobody's zone of genius. This is just a thing that we have to do sometimes, and it's okay. So I'm glad to be out of it. Judith, your card is the Queen of Vessels reversed. So what's going on with your feelings that you're not acknowledging? I know that you have a project you're super excited about. I know there have been some really positive things happening for you. And the Queen of Vessels indicates that it's time. Again, we have big feelings energy this week. It's time for you to examine how you're feeling about all of it. Like almost like a therapist might, maybe journal about it, maybe whatever you do about it, sing about it, write about it, create about it. There are feelings underlying that are challenging you. And you're at a place right now where you may feel inclined to be like, no, I don't want to, those are annoying. I just want to push ahead. My feelings can wait. And the Queen of Vessels is indicating that you really want to pay attention to your feelings right now. And just as we were talking about with some of the other cards that have come up today, if we wait, if we keep pushing it back, it can turn a very small thing into a very big thing, and then it can get harder to unravel. I think about this sometimes when I'm like, when I have like a minor disagreement with my husband. We have a stupid fight, we kind of say some stupid things to each other, and go to bed the next day and wake up and are still kind of annoyed. And my thing is, my personal psychology is, if we don't talk about it now, I will continue to feel bad, but we'll get less able to talk about it, right? A week later, we're not going to be able to remember exactly what happened in that fight, and we're not going to be able to have as functional a conversation about it. So it's easier for me to say, let's have the conversation as soon as we can, when we've both cooled off, so that we can, be kinder to each other in the future and figure out what we both need to do to accomplish that. Because if we wait, it will be harder. And it will be more emotionally charged because we've both waited and felt like we haven't gotten our needs met over that time. And our memories will go bad, right? We'll be like, I don't know, what did you say? I feel like you said this. And we'll disagree and maybe have another fight. So that's the way that things can snowball when we just kind of push our emotions aside and try to deal with them later, right? If there's something that's not feeling right to you, or maybe even something that's feeling right and it's not feeling right, that it feels right. I know that's complicated, but I can sum it up by saying, things like imposter syndrome, or things like, this is not where I thought I'd be at this moment in my life and I have to adjust. Or things like, there's a piece of my old life that I would still love to do that I can't anymore, and I have the sense of betrayal that I still need to process. Whatever it might be, whatever feelings you're experiencing, it's worth giving them some love. It's worth showing up for them. It's worth taking them to tea. Have a cup of tea with your feelings. Literally, make a nice cup of tea for yourself. If you don't like tea, have something else. And have a heart-to-heart with yourself. See what you're really feeling. Sometimes all that's needed is a conversation. Sometimes it's just like, I know you've felt this way, and by you, I mean everyone listening, right? Where something doesn't feel right to you, and when you say it out loud and someone says, you're right, that's really crappy, you deserve better than that, that's literally all you need. Sometimes we just need to have our feelings acknowledged. Sometimes we just need to know, yeah, it's not just me. I do have a right to feel that way, and we can move on and process it, because our own feelings of like, am I supposed to feel this way, block us. So, go ahead and have tea with your feelings. Give yourself some self-validation if you're able to, because that really helps. Make room for your feelings this week, because that's going to help you. Lana, I am going to pull a card for you. And then it's going to be a short witchy weather report today. We have not very many people, which I hope means people are out having a wonderful day. It's a beautiful weekend. It's probably the first weekend after school lets out, so maybe that's why there aren't so many people. Maybe people are hitting the beach, which is great. Brittany, how are you? I'm glad you're here. Brittany has shared this amazing, I love this cat with sunglasses emoji from Twitch. It just makes me so happy. Okay, So I got Lana, I'm pulling a card for you, then Brittany will be on deck. Lucky for us, this is still kind of a lengthy witchy weather report because I can ramble and I know it. I can't help it, y'all. Part of what I love about the witchy weather report is just getting to have a good conversation with you each week. And that's just as important to me as it is to, like, you know, pull cards and do the tarot thing, which I love to do, and that's a piece of the conversation. But I love just getting to see you each week and getting to catch up and getting to, you know, explore these different topics. Brittany says, I go over to Twitch each week to give you that cat emoji specifically. Thank you. I am honored. It's a good gift. I'm very grateful. All right, Lana, I am pulling a card for you. Judith says, we appreciate this. Thank you, Judith. Okay, Lana, another reversed card. You know, that's the thing with a round deck, is you're going to get cards that are reversed that point in different ways, you know, stuff like that, because it's round. There's no up, you know, except what you decide is up. So you have the Seven of Vessels reversed. Are you stuck choosing between things that are all calling to you? Do you feel like you are maybe spread a little too thin right now because you have multiple priorities? And usually what happens when you feel that way is that you can't do meaningful work on any of them. And I don't just mean work, you know, because not all of it's work. Some of it might be family stuff or relationships. You know, if I'm spread too thin because I have 2 projects going for my career and I have this mailing to get out and I, you know, really need to mow the lawn, and I also have a couple of gigs, and I also have like a couple of friends who need my support, you know, and also want to spend quality time with my husband, right? That's like a million things, and I can't do all of them. So it's a challenge, right? Like in one day you want to be like, oh, let me work on this, let me work on this. You always feel like things are undone. And the truth is we can't get to everything in a day. Maybe we can't even get to everything in a week. So it's a real time for you to prioritize at this point. And usually what happens if we don't do this consciously, I'm talking a lot about the conscious and the subconscious today. If we don't consciously prioritize, what happens is our subconscious prioritizes for us, right? If we have a million different commitments and our subconscious is like, well, that thing that matters to you, that doesn't really matter because you're not important, so forget it, you know, like then we drop the ball on our self-care. I think everyone has an idea of what it is that they drop the ball on when they get busy. For me, it's absolutely like physical self-care. Like I forget to schedule time to eat food. I forget to, you know, take walks and move my body so that I can take good care of myself, or I even choose not to. I'm like, whatever, that's not important today. And then I pay for it, right? You know, like if you don't take care of your physical body long enough, you're going to be in pain or whatever. So for me, that's it. You know, that's the thing that suffers. And so it's worth consciously prioritizing and consciously asking yourself what's important right now. And it's okay if the answer is like all of this stuff's important. Then it's time for you to sit down and say, okay, well, what needs to happen, right? If there's something on fire, maybe that needs to be addressed first, right? If there's something that feels more emergency-ish than other things, then okay, that's what I'll spend time on. But it's very important for you right now to give yourself the freedom to focus on one thing at a time. If we don't focus on our problems one at a time, we become overwhelmed. If we focus on them one at a time, bing, bang, boom. It's like knocking down the pins, and it's not that bad. So that is the universe's desire for you, is to prioritize a little, think about what's most important, and give yourself the freedom to just do one thing at a time. Because the truth is, we can't do more than one thing at a time. When we push ourselves to, we're kidding ourselves. It's no fun. Brittany says, can you give me a reminder of the card of the week, please? I missed it. Yes, absolutely. The card of the week this week is the King of Vessels. We are encouraged to treat our emotions as wise messengers this week. We are encouraged to sit down to tea with them, to listen to our emotions and lead with our hearts. Again, not letting our heart lead us, not leading instead of our hearts, not pushing aside our emotions to make quote unquote rational decisions, but to really consider what messages our emotions are telling us this week, because our emotions will have plentiful messages. And so it's our job as the wise leader in our lives to listen to those messages carefully, right? Some emotions will be more tentative. They'll be like, oh, I kind of have something I want to share, but it's okay if you're busy right now. Some of them will act like everything is the end of the world. They'll be like, this is an emergency. You have to deal with this right now. And a wise leader will make sure both voices get heard and will take the time to sit and listen and suss out the real message, right? The real message isn't this is an emergency. That's like a feeling about the situation. That's overwhelm. What's the real situation? The wise listener will take the time to suss that out. That's what our emotions are there for. They're there to give us messages. And sometimes it really is an emergency, right? Sometimes it's like, oh, you know what? I really do have to deal with this immediately. I can't believe I've been ignoring it. And sometimes it's hyperbole. And we're like, okay, this is something that's causing me great discomfort. How can I strategize to not feel that uncomfortable all the time? Both are important. Oh my gosh. Brittany says, that's what I've been talking about in therapy this week. Nice. I talked about my friggin' schedule in therapy this week. I'm such a Virgo. I was like, I think I'm going to get my mailing done today, and then I'm going to make a new schedule for myself. And I'm really excited about it. That was, if you want to know what therapy is like with Rory, 95% of it's about my to-do list. What's wrong with me? Yes. All emotions provide valuable information about the situation we are in. Yes, they really do, and ignoring them doesn't help. Just like in reality, right? Ignoring someone who keeps coming up and tugging on your sleeve and getting in your face doesn't generally make them go away. It's just like people tell you ignore bullies and they'll go away, and as someone who's been bullied, no, it doesn't. It doesn't make them go away. It doesn't make them stop. It just makes you feel like you're not allowed to have a reaction. You have to address these things. If your emotions keep coming up and being like, listen to me, it's an idea. Listen to them, Lana says, you're so right. I'm running on empty. Well, take care of yourself, please. Give yourself some TLC, because it's hard to make good decisions when we're spread too thin. Believe me. That's when our subconscious takes over. And whatever we get is whatever our subconscious thinks is important. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. Lana says, thank you. You're welcome. Okay. Brittany, I'm pulling a card for you. Unless someone else pops up, this will be my last card for the day. And this will be a short witchy weather report, which is fine. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Brittany, your card is also the Eight of Pentacles. I've been shuffling a lot, guys, but this card came up for someone else. Now, this is the Eight of Pentacles in a slightly different direction. Someone earlier got the Eight of Pentacles reversed. As you can see, this is not quite reversed, it's sideways. So if we think of this direction is backwards, this direction is forwards. What is stopping you from going forward right now might be that you are kind of slavish to your routine and to what you think you need to do each day. You might actually be holding yourself back from moving forward because you think you have to, cross every T, dot every I, to the point that you're not making progress when you're actually fine. I know sometimes I do this to myself with my piano practice. I'll practice something to death when I could really move on from it. And could be growing, right? If I was moving on, I'd be growing, I'd be becoming a better player. And instead I'm like, no, I have to practice it this many times, And so the thing that's stopping you from making progress at this moment is your own work ethic, your own desire to do a very good job at everything. There's a phrase that people throw around. It's kind of an aphorism that people use, which is anything worth doing is doing well. And I'm going to submit to you that the opposite of that is also true. Anything worth doing is worth doing half-assed. I know there's probably a more polite way to put that, but I've committed to half-assing some things in my life, and it's actually been beautiful for me. There are things that I absolutely want to do well and want to take pride in doing very carefully, and often that's emotional rather than it being about the result. I think people appreciate about me that I have a very strong work ethic, a very strong desire to make sure everything is just so good attention to detail, But often it's about me. It's about me going, I want everything to be perfect. It's about being a perfectionist. And my ego a little bit, right? Not wanting to sign my name to something that is less than stellar. And it can hold me back. It can make a project take forever. It can make me, when I'm trying to pack up my house for a move, for example, which I'm not doing at the moment, but it's the example that comes to mind. It can make everything take twice as long because I'm like, well, before I pack this, I should really, make sure this is clean. And before I clean it, I should really declutter it. And we see people do this every time they take a move. And at the end of the day, right, we all end up going, crap, but I have to move tomorrow. And we throw things in boxes at the end. So sometimes we do things too perfectly for our own goods. You are encouraged this week to ask yourself what areas of life you can lovingly give yourself permission to half-ass. Anything worth doing is doing badly. Consider brushing your teeth. We brush our teeth every day. It's good to brush our teeth every day. If we have an incredibly stressful day and we're sitting there like, I don't have time to brush my teeth 900 strokes or however many, the full recommended dentist 3 minutes, like I have to get out the door. Brushing your teeth for 1 minute is better than brushing your teeth for 0 minutes. It's better to do it badly than not at all, right? And some things it truly doesn't matter. Some things it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example here. Like getting dressed to go out to the store. Does it matter if I never do this? Does it matter if my makeup is beautifully done? Does it matter if I'm like dressed in a way that like looks runway ready? I'm just going to get a friggin' newspaper, right? Maybe I could just go out however the hell I want and get that newspaper and it's 15 minutes of my life instead of 50 minutes of my life. Allow yourself to do some things half-assed so that you have the time and emotional energy to put into doing the things that really, really matter. Though that's where you want to spend that time, right? Put that time and effort of doing things just to your satisfaction, to the things you really, really care about. Because we all have things we got to do just as human beings in this current paradigm every single day. And we just got to get through our lives, And if we make everything be like, I have to do it just so, then we're exhausted all the time. I can tell you as a Virgo, as a perfectionist Virgo. Brittany says, I've been getting the recurring theme of just do something even if it's bad. Yes. Yeah, just do it. Also allow yourself to be imperfect. Like the Eight of Pentacles, usually this person's like blowing glass on here. Often we see someone like hammering out and creating pentacles on a more traditional Rider-Waite deck. Every single thing you put out doesn't have to be pristine. In fact, if you put that pressure on yourself, you might put out nothing, especially as a creative person. So I'm here. Rory Kelly is giving you permission to half-ass some things so that you can free up your energy a little better. All right, my friends. I don't think... Hello, April the Social Seller, tuning in on Instagram. I'm not sure when you tuned in, actually. But hi, thanks for joining. I think that's all the people who have pulled cards. I'll give it just another minute. If anyone would like a card, the secret code we use is to drop a cat emoji in the chat or type meow. And if you type meow or drop a cat in the chat, I will know to pull a card for you. If anyone would like a card, speak now or forever hold your peace. Oh, you just joined right now. April, would you like me to pull a card for you? Let me know. Because I was about to sign off, but I'll give you a card. Also, I'll let you know. We had a general card of the week for everyone, and it is the King of Vessels. This week, it is wise for us to lead with our hearts, hand in hand. So our hearts don't make the decisions for us. We don't make the decisions for our heart. We collaborate, right? We sit down with our emotions and learn about what they're trying to tell us, and then we make our decisions. So that's the wisest way for us to make decisions this week. Awesome. April says, meow. Yes, please. You got it, my darling. I am shuffling for you. I'm reading today from the Tarot of the Cloisters, which is a beautiful stained glass themed round deck that I just love. Also, I'll just let you all know, if anyone would like to get a larger reading with me, you're always welcome to. I have an Etsy link. It's etsy.com/shop/Sassafras Tarot. It's in my bio if you're on Instagram. It's scrolling across the bottom and in the pinned comment if you're tuned in elsewhere. And you can get 10% off of any reading with me if you want a full reading with me by putting in the code Witchy Weather Report. All one word, Witchy Weather Report, just like you think it's spelled. Also, if this has been meaningful to you and you enjoy it, I do have a virtual tip jar. It's Venmo at Rory Kelly, RORIE KELLY. Feel free to throw some love in that virtual tip jar. And if you really love this like crazy, I have a podcast. It's called Sassafras Cast. I actually just put out a new episode, so I hope you'll check it out. You can search Sassafras Cast wherever fine podcasts are. It's also a video cast now. I made my first ever video cast this week, so it is available on YouTube. Again, search Sassafras Cast and you will find me. All one word. All right. Page of Staves is your card, April. Upright. This is a lovely card. This really indicates that it's a time for you to lean into your impulses and a little bit your creativity, but I think this is less about creativity and more about you going with your gut on things. If you have an impulse to start something, if you have an impulse to learn about something, because pages are all about learning. Even if you're saying to yourself, oh, I don't know if that's something I should put my energy into. I don't know if I'll fail. I don't know how it'll go. I don't know if I'll be any good at that. It's time for you to go ahead and go forward with it. Follow that impulse. Follow your, I don't want to say follow your bliss because that's like such a vague thing to say. Follow what's tugging at you. If you keep seeing something, if the universe keeps like showing you something and you're like, oh, I'm really interested in that actually, even if it's something you've never done, do it. Go forward and check it out. And no matter how it works out, it'll be beneficial to you, right? Try not to put too much on it. Try not to make it be like, and it has to be this to be successful. Instead, just be like, I'm gonna explore this because I feel like it. Explore it for the joy of exploration and see what happens, because no matter what happens, it's going to be a win for you. It might enrich you in other areas of your life. In fact, it probably will. That usually happens when we explore new things that we're psyched about. It might become a life path that you didn't even know you could be on, right? You might look back 3 years from now and be like, wow, I had no idea I'd be here. Anything in between. So just do the thing. If you're feeling pulled, don't tell yourself you don't have time. Don't tell yourself there are other things that are more important. Please explore the things you are feeling impulses to explore. It's worth it. You're right. April says, I'm leaning into my intuition more and more. I love it. All right, let's see. Got some comments. Brittany says, I appreciate the guidance as always. Anytime. Thank you for coming and hanging out. Thank you for bringing your energy to this, everybody, because the Witchy Weather Report it's a consensual reality, right? I show up at 11. I just bring myself and my cards, and we all create the energy of this together. It's so special. And it means a lot to me that we're kind of in this community together, that we get to check in with each other every week and hang out and have good conversations. So thank you. Judith says, you and Patty Bell are a great team. Thank you. Patty Bell's awesome. We like accidentally met each other in 2020, like really accidentally. We were thrown into a group by like a computer and started like meeting up with each other. As Patreon creators, and it's just been like one of the best things in my life that I met her and this other guy Peter, who's also in our group. So that's been really cool. Yeah, she's awesome, and it's not the last time we'll team up. We will definitely be doing more things together in the future. I know she has some stuff going on planned for her Divine Finances group. When that finally kicks off, you will see me like ringing the bell about it because I'm so excited about Divine Finances. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in today. Thanks for having this moment of clarity and thoughtfulness with me on a Saturday morning. Thanks for making space for this in your day, which I'm sure is busy. I'll see you again next week. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you ring that notification bell so you know when I go live. I do this every week at this time, the 11 to 12 o'clock hour Eastern time, or whatever time it is for you. All right. Have a wonderful, my dears. Farewell. Farewell. Remember to lead with your hearts this week.